Hello all newcomers and welcome back my fellow Aeternians. As always, it's me, Emperor AP, and today I am here to deliver some important news and updates about our great empire. Now, one of the first and most important things to discuss is that very soon, here in May, we will have our very first ever permanent resident here in one of our territories, besides myself and my family. This is incredibly exciting. One of our citizens, longtime citizen David Morris, who has now come out, actually one of our newest citizens over the past year plus, who is now coming out and taking on an entirely new step in his journey as an Imperial and becoming a resident here, our first ever resident in the Empire of Aeternia. So this is incredibly exciting. And we're grateful to have him out here at Talon and Vine Farm as the right of Talon, the person who will be managing this farm, the person who will be running the day-to-day operations and helping us to grow and develop them. So that being the case, a lot of today's update is going to be focused on Talon and Vine Farm here, our newest territory, our biggest territory by far, and we're going to do quite a bit of that today. So again, today is a spring update for the Empire. We've been away for a little bit trying to do a lot of our last minute spring prepping. And now that spring is here, last time I met with you all, I was able to discuss some of those plans. And today we're going to talk about what has been put in place so far, what hasn't been put in place so far, and how we are going about that continued development. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to give a special shout out to the two people in. We have Dynamic Umbrella. Good to see you, Dynamic. Thank you for being here. We also have Allthink. Thank you for being here as well. So I'm going to quickly turn your attention to this whiteboard here. And I want to make sure it's completely in view as we discuss this. It looks like it is because this is critical to our updates. If I can get minimal glare on it, let's see how I do. All right, so if you all remember from the last time that we spoke, we were dealing with a plan that included developing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 raised beds, as we had 3 raised beds that we built from last spring, and now we are going to upgrade to 5. We also planned a huge 2,800 square foot plot to be the largest and most advanced in-depth plot, in-ground plot that we've ever done. We had not done an in-ground plot before. We had just done 3 out of the 5 of these raised beds previously, so this will be our first in-ground plot. This will also be the largest farming endeavor we have taken on in any single structure. So this 2,800 square foot plot is a huge push in advancement of our agricultural sector. We will also plan our own specified trellis system for a lot of our vine plants, such as beans, squash, things like that. And we will also have a few small herb and berry planters to put strawberries and other small herbs in. So that being the case, let's talk about what we've actually been able to accomplish this year. We do still have our 1, 2, 3 raised garden beds, but we have not completed yet our 4th and our 5th. So these are still in waiting. However, we have been prepping the 3 garden beds. I'll write it like this: 4, 5, and then we're still waiting on these. So we have started prepping our first 3 garden beds for the spring, as we are getting very close to needing to start our plants in these that are going to go in them. And then we will quickly, once we get some plants started there, be advancing to building our 4th and 5th pallet raised beds. Now, similarly, we have not started our trellis system yet. So this is something that still remains to be seen and is something that we will have to build in time, as well as our 3 herb and berry planters. Although these most likely will be our next big update because we have some strawberries growing right now that will fit well in those, as well as a couple of herbs. So the main question then is, what about this, the 2,800 square foot in-ground plot? Have we done anything with this? Is this a dream? Is this a manifestation of imagination? Or is this something practical that we're going to be able to do? And we have successfully built this. I will say I am incredibly proud of us. It is not populated with plants yet. However, the border has been created and outlined, so we've sectioned off not only the framing of it to know where we are putting this, but we've also gone through and marked the rows that are created in this. So we have built the framing and the structure for this, which is wonderful. Another thing that we've been able to do is actually mulch this. So in a checklist for our garden bed, for our plot, I'll say, plot checklist, we have framing, which has been completed. We have the mulching, which has also been completed. Now, the mulching is actually what took us quite a long time. That is going to help us maintain water retention in the soil and also prevent weeds from growing up through it. We did that with a combination of straw as well as lots and lots of leaf litter. The straw has the potential to have seeds in it, which can ultimately create more weeding problems for us. So we put a heavy amount of leaf litter ultimately as the main base for our mulch, and that has worked quite well. So we have been able to reduce a lot of the weeds in this area, just in general block a lot of the grass growth here. And for the parts that we haven't, we have been able to still maintain lots of water retention. So the soil under here is nice and fresh and prepped for the future. Now, one of the things that I didn't really go into too much was exactly how many rows we would have on this plot. That's something that was a little bit tricky to determine at the time as we were still planning this out and didn't know how big this plot would be. We didn't know exactly what we were going to be able to plant or how aggressively we were going to move on this. And so now we have consistency that we can define. So we have 13, and I'm going to just denote them as lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And what I'll actually do is I'll remove the rest of this space just to show this more accurately here. But this is a 2,800 square foot garden bed, excuse me, in-ground plot. I keep wanting to call it a garden bed because I'm so used to working with these raised garden beds. But this is an in-ground plot that we're doing. And in this first row, we have actually been able to start potatoes. That's a little hard to see there, but I'll erase this and I can add some development here. So in row 1, or R1 as I'm calling it, we have potatoes, which are now growing. And we've actually seen signs of these potatoes. We're doing something that we call the root stout method, which is a way in which we can plant the potatoes effectively above ground with an aggressive amount of mulch, and that allows us to then come back and with minimal effort pull these potatoes out of the ground when they're ready, harvest them, and we should theoretically see a lot higher yields versus other methods. So this is a low effort, high yield method on those potatoes, and I'm incredibly excited about that. In our row 2, that has already been planted, by the way. The row 1 with the potatoes is already a go, is already planted and moving forward. Our row 2, goodness, this marker is terrible. Let me see if I can find a better marker. As we discuss row 2. Row 2 is interesting because we have not planted it yet, but we are prepping it, and that is going to be primarily that is primarily going to be carrots and radish. So these are going to be root vegetables in this row. That's going to be something that is quite a benefit for us. We don't eat as many radish. I enjoy radish. Tiffany doesn't. And I'm not sure how David and some of our other citizens feel about radish. However, radish is something that grows very quickly and very abundantly. It's easy to grow, quick turnaround, and it is a root vegetable that is very complementary to the growth of our carrots, which will take a little bit longer, and those radish will help to break up and soften the soil for our carrots to move through. So radish and carrots will be in row 2. So that's what we're dealing with now. And this is going to be our next big effort. So row 1, we have our potatoes going in, which are already growing. Row 2, we will have our radish and carrots going in. Now, the next one that we were going to do, going to be row 3 through, I'd probably say 3 through 4, or maybe even 5, lettuce. Now, we have our lettuce actively growing. This took us quite a bit of effort because lettuce is something that in the hot Alabama heat doesn't grow too well, and is also something that is very delicate in the seedling stage. And so where we've had other things like tomatoes and peppers that thrive in the soil that we have, our lettuce, when we initially tried to start the seeds, died very quickly, and we could not figure out exactly why that was. And we've come to figure out that that was primarily due to disease and issues in the soil itself. So it's not even a soil pH issue. We tested that. We tested a number of things about our soil quality. Our soil has plenty of nutrients. It has a good pH balance for our lettuce. The main issue was disease. So the way that we got around this is actually a new innovation and update that we'll have to describe to you guys more in the future, but is creating seed blocks. So we actually were able to design an ideal growing scenario for these lettuce seedlings, and we now have I believe 22 lettuce seedlings actively growing, actively thriving in ways that they just had not before. So we're doing quite well. We should be able to start to plant some lettuce seedlings into the plot in rows 3 and 4 pretty quickly. I'd say pretty quickly after we finish row 2 with our radish and carrots. That being said, these lettuce are a little bit finicky. They are going to require a good bit of shading because they are so anti-heat. They need some sunlight, but they don't want to be in the middle of the summer, the sweltering heat of Alabama in July. So we will have to create some cover for them over some of these rows. Now that's a bit difficult to do, so we will also be having some of this lettuce more than likely off to the side in a smaller covered bed area. It'll still be an in-ground bed, but that'll be something that is not a plot like this large area, but something off to the side in a more shaded, cool area that gets, maybe 5-6 hours of sunlight a day. So we're going to try both of those methods out and see which one produces the most for us. But since we do have such a large plot here, we are going to put quite a bit of lettuce out there and see if we can't protect it from the elements and let that grow. So that is rows 1 through 4. In row 5, we are still trying to decide exactly what we're going to plant, but more than likely, this will be a setup for some of our pepper plants. So peppers, we might also do onions as a combination here. These are really nice because they are fairly complementary. The onions in general, for a lot of these, will help to reduce the pest problem, and as well the peppers are nice, short to the ground growing, and are pretty prolific. So that will be great for row 5, and we'll go ahead and have that planted out soon after we get the radish, carrots, and lettuce going. And that's quite a bit. One of the nice things about this is that because we have, again, this is a 2,800 square foot plot, this is quite a large plot for us to be planting in, we are not going to cover this whole plot all at once. What we'll probably do is go through row 7, so 5, R6, R7, and all of that will be planted now, early in the spring. But then what we'll do is we will have rows 8 through 13 as our succession zone. And so what that's going to do is allow us to say, hey, we have this plot and we've split it down the middle. You know, I'll draw a rough line here. And we'll say everything this way is going to be our first planting zone, and then everything after this, with terrible handwriting, will be our succession zone. And so that succession zone is going to allow us to see what worked in the first 7, and say, okay, how can we make modifications here? How can we improve what happened here? How can we get continuous growth? So, you know, maybe we do a good bit of lettuce initially, right? And the lettuce is having some issues. It's struggling a little bit. So we try to do what we can, but let's say it bolts really quickly and it just doesn't work out the way that we want. So then the next thing that we would come in here and do is we would start working almost immediately on trying to create more cover, more shade. We would also probably do that in areas that aren't on the plot directly, but if we decided we needed to grow a large amount of lettuce, as we think we will, it's a pretty common used item, not only for us, but people in our community, we will then be providing additional shading, additional support here in our succession zone, and then starting additional lettuce plants after that. So trying to solve the problems here that we face with this first planting zone, doing everything we can to make sure that they thrive, and then taking the lessons from the first few weeks, the first month of their growth here, seeing how they do, and then transferring those learned lessons into the succession zone. So that way, even if we get a poor yield in the first plant, we should be able to then follow that up in the next few weeks with plants that are maturing just a little bit behind the first plant, and then collect that in the succession zone. Now, once we start pulling a lot of our plants and harvesting from the first plant zone here, these will almost swap, where this will now be the younger planting zone, and we'll follow up with additional successions here in the first planting zone, and that'll happen about through October. So this is our big workhorse of our agricultural industry right now. This is going to be the primary place where we're doing a lot of our learning and growing. But this really shouldn't be a place of too much experimentation, because this is our first year doing a large plot like this. This is going to have to be fairly experimental this year. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. We're going to learn a lot of lessons. But yet, this should be our steady growth area. This should be the place that in future harvests, in future plants, in future springs, and even in the fall when we do some different crops here, we really should be expecting consistency out of our 2,800 square foot plot. But that, for more adventurous takes, will be where we focus on these raised beds. So having 5 raised beds here will be really nice, because anything that we want to experiment with, whether that's companion planting, whether that's specific care techniques, or just even plants that are more sensitive and more delicate, especially in our Alabama environment, we can focus on those in these 5 raised beds. The things that'll be really great about that are that we can take lessons that we learn here and say, because these are smaller, we're not expecting as large a harvest here. If we get great harvest here, that's fantastic, but this isn't what we're primarily expecting for our survival, for our main culinary staples. That's going to be our large 2,800 square foot plot, And then when we get some things that work out nicely in our more experimental raised beds, we can move all that and take those lessons again to double up here in the 2,800 square foot ground plot. Again, our trellis system, that'll be coming up pretty quickly where we're starting to build on that, and we'll have to do more live streams to cover all of these. But this trellis system in general is going to be something that becomes nice for us because it's a fairly low maintenance tool. The trellis, the way that we're going to build it out of wood, should allow it to be fairly low maintenance. We will need to water some around it and maybe create a watering system to do that for us. But the great thing about that is that other than that, a lot of these hardy vining plants that we'll put on it should just do their thing, grow up, start developing their fruits, and then we can come and pick them off as we go. So if we look at this 2,800 square foot plot as our main workhorse, our main production area, and where we're expecting the bulk of our active day-to-day use of our vegetables, our survival elements to our garden. We then have an experimental zone up here with these raised beds, and then we have a steady supply of backup, of supplemental items that come from these trellises. Now they will be different, so we will use these quite a bit, but we're not going to expect to plant things here that we need very, very heavily and very consistently like we will in mass, planting in the 2,800 square foot bed. And then finally, again, we will have more berries and herbs, which will be nice treats, little things that we need to add just a pinch of for seasoning or for desserts, things like that, fresh fruits in the summertime that will come out of these planters. So if I were to give an overview right now of everything that we're working on, we're going to be focused on starting with developing as much as we can here in our 2,800 square foot bed. So let's look at timeline. I'm going to go ahead and erase what I was talking about last time with the Rite of Talon. He is again going to be primarily heading the development of this garden. This year, again, it is more of an experimental procedure, but in the future, we should take what we learn here, and he should be able to successfully apply that in future efforts and teach us a little bit more about it as the years go on. So let's look at timeline. I'm going to say first would be the 2,800 square foot plot, and again, that is the first plant, our first planting. Then we are going to focus on primarily care of the raised beds. And I'm saying raised bed refresh because we're primarily going to be focused on the first through the third beds. Those are the ones that are already built. And again, we really just need to add topsoil to these, make sure that they are prepared for what we're going to plant in them. Then we'll be focused on the herb / berry planters. Again, these are pretty small, and we'll be able to start working on these pretty quickly, almost as we're doing this refresh of the raised bed. Because once we have the majority of our plants planted in the 2,800 square foot plot, we're just going to be waiting. We're going to be taking care of them a little bit, and then we're going to be building and adding more soil to the raised bed. So we'll probably be doing these side by side, but I'm going to put them in order because really we need to complete this raised bed refresh as quick as possible to start planting in like we're doing in the plot. And then finally, we will be taking our attention and focusing directly as our vining plants start to develop a little bit, and as we want to start putting them out there. Most of the vining plants that we're going to be dealing with, most of the vining plants we're going to be dealing with are going to be things that we just have to plant directly, things like beans and squash. So we won't actually be able to pre-start these. Once we finish that trellis system, we'll be able to go. So we do want to focus on that, but there are plants that are already growing that require these herb and berry planters. So we're going to do those first, and then trellis build. So that trellis build is going to come in, and this is how we're going to set everything up. Finally, after all of this is done, we will be going back and making continual updates, things like finishing up the rest of these raised beds, adding more to our trellis system, continuing to plant there, starting our successions, and moving on in like. In kind, I should say. One of the other things that we're going to add either to row 6 or row 7, I'll put row 6 right now, but I don't know that it'll stay that way, is going to be okra. Okra, similarly, very tall plant. To be nice. In fact, I'll have to look at how the companion setup works between these. I'd really like the onions to be near, semi-near to our lettuce for the pest reduction capabilities that they have. One of the nice things about okra is that okra grow really tall. And so our okra plants growing up fairly tall should allow for additional shading of our lettuce. So where we're doing some of our lettuce, it may be nice to have a barrier of okra kind of growing around to be able to provide just additional shading there. But one way or the other, we will have our okra either in row 5, 6, or 7. And again, starting our succession zone at row 8. So a lot to be discussed there, a lot to go through, but I'm going to go ahead and read some comments. Thank you all for being here. It means a lot. We have some great micronations who are actively in the chat and who are helping us to build our empire day by day. In particular, there are a number of people who are talking about micronational efforts, but I want to start off by jumping down in the comments a little bit to the Kingdom of Arcovia. Arcovia, if you all don't know, is a micronation located in North Mississippi, and they are some good friends of ours, and they actually had a couple of comments that are here and relevant to our farming efforts. So, the Kingdom of Arcovia says, hello, Emperor AP. Glad to see amazing things coming to the great Empire of Aeternia. Thank you so much. I assume I'm speaking to King Ronald. King Ronald, thank you so much for being here. It's amazing to see you as well, hear from you, I should say. And we are excited. There's still a lot more that I haven't even shown. This is just dealing with our planting, but we're having to narrow our scope and our focus to really make sure that we achieve on this. Again, a lot of this is experimental. It is growing beyond what we have ever done before, and so we have to make sure that we commit our efforts here to be as successful as possible. Now, you also asked a moment ago, what factors determine which vegetables get planted? That is a great question. It's going to be a mix. So we are not primarily focused this year on supplying for selling. Now, we have a few people who are interested in potentially buying from us, but because this is such an experimental effort, because we are really pushing beyond what it is that we create just for, supplemental support of our diets and of our food for survival, we are actually going to be expanding out to try to accomplish a large percentage of our diets being supported by this garden for the year. So the majority of what we are determining to get planted and the amounts that we're planting is based on our own diets. Again, things like radish, for example, we don't need a ton of. We eat a ton of carrots, we eat a ton of lettuce, we eat a ton of peppers, we eat a ton of onions, we eat quite a bit of okra. All of those things, we eat a lot of potatoes. All of those things are things that we can add and grow a lot of, and it shouldn't be too big of an issue as to whether or not we'll eat them. Now, this even, assuming that it all grew and it all worked out perfectly, and we have every single raised bed filled, and we have the entire 2,800 square foot plot filled, and we have all of our herb and berry planters filled, and all of our trellis filled, that would probably be quite a bit more than we could eat as it comes out. However, we are also starting to look into and prepare for canning. So we want to not only be able to provide for ourselves just for the months that we have the garden, but actually learn to stretch that and develop that for the future. So we hope to try to supplement our diets for as long throughout the year as we can. And in order to do that, we do have to learn how to farm and garden on a much larger scale than we ever have before, which leads us to this big push. So it's primarily based on what we know we can grow that is fairly easy and reasonable for us to grow in our climate, what we eat and is a staple part of our diet, and also what we know we can and preserve successfully. Thank you, Tiff. Tiff's saying we have 4 viewers. That's wonderful. So that being the case, King Ronald, that is the primary effort that we're going after. One of the things I saw you mention was loofah. Loofah is fantastic for providing additional support for our things like, personal care items. For example, use loofahs for cleaning, whether that's cleaning for dishes, cleaning for your body, and they can even be great for selling. Though that is not something that we're focused on immediately, it is something that we'd like to look into one day as well. So, in continuation, Arcovia said, I have tons of seeds of different types of vegetables. If you want some, just let me know. I can mail you seeds. That would be wonderful. Yes, please. If you can tell us a little bit about what types you have. It sounds like you just have the whole gambit. That's wonderful. One of the things that we've actually been looking into, which is a high prize item for us that we have not found yet, we can find them online, but we want to try and find it locally, is our, I think they're called Jericho lettuce. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. So there is a special type of lettuce that we are looking to grow called Jericho lettuce. One of the things that I mentioned to you here is that a lot of our lettuce, when it was young in its seedling stage, died the first time we tried to plant it. It was terrible. We had to restart everything, and we had to improve from there. Another thing that happened was that in seeing our lettuce from last season that grew up, it bolted very quickly, and that's just because of the heat. So we were able to harvest a little bit on it, but not nearly as much as we'd like, and certainly not enough to last throughout the year. So that being the case, not even really enough to eliminate much of our cost of going out and purchasing lettuce from the store. That being the case, there's a special type of lettuce called Jericho lettuce, I believe is the name of it. And it is a special heat-tolerant lettuce grown in places like Israel, where it is very, very hot, and was bred for that purpose. So that's one of the things that we'd really like to look into, is growing some Jericho lettuce here. That way it can still handle more of the heat of the Alabama summers, more of the direct full sun that we're going to get, especially in that in-ground plot, and yet would allow us to produce lots and lots of lettuce. So we still may have to do some adjustment, even having that type of lettuce. But ideally, we'd like to find either a local nursery or something who stocks it, or worst comes to worst, buy it online. And that would get us started fairly late with our lettuce. Again, we already have some varieties of lettuce growing right now that are going to get put in that plot pretty soon. But ideally, if we could get that nice Jericho lettuce to try out, and if it works well for us and it's a solid investment, that will be what we start planting more heavily. But these are great questions. If you happen to have any of that Jericho lettuce or those seeds, we would absolutely love that. Even if you don't, whatever you think would be a good idea for us to go ahead and plant more of. If you're like, hey, you mentioned quite a few things, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention this, please let us know. There are plenty of things that we would like to plant that we have run out of seeds for, or that the seeds that we had are a little bit old and so may not have fully germinated. I'll go back through and look at those and see kind of what things we can discuss that may be beneficial, but there are lots and lots of things that we'd like to plant.
Okay. 2 things.
Okay.
Plan for tomorrow.
Yeah.
As far as the gardening goes.
Yeah.
You want to start a second set of seeds?
Sure.
And then prepare the garden beds.
Yep.
Okay. Other than that, a little bit of yard work here and there, but I figure maybe like starting the second set, because the first set, I think we've got what we're gonna get from it. which isn't a lot, but that's okay. Hopefully the second set will go better because we will maybe learn, or maybe just the fact that when we start the second set, we have more time to like dedicate to maintaining them.
Oh, are you talking about the ones that were in the
the
tray?
In the tray.
Yeah.
But if we take those other planters that are pointed out on the other porch,
I think they'll kill it.
Yeah.
That's
I think, but the okra is there. That's like pretty deep. And they'll probably still reach the bottom of it, but at least they'll do better in that than what they did in the starter.
Well, I mean, we can even just direct sow those.
Well, we had the chance of one more frost.
Okay.
We may be out, but there is still like a chance because like technically frost isn't like over until like the end of April. We're in April, but we're not at the end of it, so you really don't want to move them out till May. Yeah, or like literally the last couple of days of April. I mean, we could try to. We could look at the forecast again, but
I think we could risk it. I don't know.
Yeah, but if a frost comes in all of a sudden, it'll kill every single thing that we've ever like done so far.
That's true.
So then you're starting from the beginning in May, which is late.
Yeah, that's true. We'll keep thinking on it. Good plans.
Because I was gonna send that out to the group chat, so that way they know what we're doing tomorrow. Everyone's on the same schedule.
We'll make a bunch of those seed starters, the seed blocks.
Yeah.
We'll have a production line.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they won't completely dry out. Like the first time that I did it, I left it in the thing and then hanged it for the day to let all the...
Oh, we don't need it to.
No, I mean, sure, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I was just doing that so you don't have so much water. But the sifting method that I did worked really good. You just use less water for sifting, so not a lot of it gets taken away in the water.
The only thing is we might want to boil our water with a fire so we can have a lot of boiled water to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, and if you do it with the fire, we don't have to use our electricity.
That is true. Woo-woo.
Did you do it with the cauldron?
Yeah, but I'd worry about them because they're old.
Sure, but aren't they like cast iron?
I would use the cauldron to pour the boiling water and to purify the stuff. I wouldn't use it to boil the water. Well, we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Well, we have the hanging pot.
That's true.
Like the hobo style.
Yeah.
Let it just hang, but then you gotta make something to like hang it over the fire.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to. We could grab the grate from the grill
and just
put it down.
That's true.
If anything, that'll heat it up, and then maybe we can get a better clean. Yeah, because right now that because it fell down due to that storm and the heavy wind, it's just been sitting in the ground. I had to grab a stick because when I lifted it back off the ground, the vent that's on the back just had like dirt just shoved in it. So I had to take a stick and through it. So
cleaning our grill. I appreciate it.
Well, now it's sitting back up. So. But I guess before you start a fire, that'll be the first place we're gonna weed eat then, because right now the grass is so high by your fire pit.
Yeah.
So
we'll do that.
I guess that'll be the first place I'll hit with the weed eater, and then while you guys are setting up the dirt to make the planting side of things.
Yeah, and we should have a few hours before they show up, so it'll be fine.
But I still got to do other stuff.
No, you're good. You focus on your stuff.
I was wanting to use the morning to do some other stuff and then join you guys in the afternoon.
That sounds good.
We can get an early start in the afternoon before they show up, but
we'll get it.
Get some stations going.
Hey! Yeah.
Although, I think that's pretty preempted. No, we haven't done it yet.
No, but we've been doing a lot. Celebrating what we've already accomplished. I've been telling everybody about what we've been accomplishing.
I mean, all we accomplished in the last 2 days was clearing our walking path.
That's true. But over the past month, we've done a good bit.
Right. The plot, all the leaves.
Mhm.
We're gonna go get more dirt.
Yep.
Prepare the garden beds.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot.
But we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, if we can get a lot of the preparation done tomorrow, then it's just
Go.
find some dirt, throw it in the beds. If we can't tomorrow, then we'll do that later in the week. And then when we're ready to transplant in May or whenever, I'll just have to check the forecast. I'll see if it says there's one more frost. But usually there's one more frost in April that pops up out of nowhere and then takes out everything.
Good point.
Yeah. Won't take out my rosemary, though.
That's true.
The rosemary's killing it.
It's growing up.
Yeah, well, when it comes Turkey Day again, we fresh rosemary, just run out and grab it.
Oh, I love you, bud.
The other thing, timeline. Today.
For today, it's a little bit. Let me see.
It's been about 30 minutes.
Yeah, 40 minutes in the stream. I would say maybe to the hour and a half mark, if you don't mind. Another 30 minutes. I'll start winding down.
All right. I'll leave you to it.
Thanks. Love you, bud.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. We've been talking about plans.
More lettuce.
Yep.
Gotta get the okras to go this time.
Yep. Lettuce, okra,
Tomatoes.
tomatoes,
Tomatoes are
peppers,
doing pretty
onion.
good.
Yeah.
Could use a few more, but
But we got some started.
although we had, 4 last year?
Mhm.
This is just may have been too much
Yeah.
for the cherry tomatoes.
Mhm.
I think for the heirloom, those are much bigger.
Right.
So
One will want to can and make sauces and do stuff like that. So we'll have.
I guess
Well,
one is
plenty.
you gotta be up on it. And when they start coming off, you go ahead and cook some, take some extra, start preserving.
That'll be the
I'll
plan.
get to making some nice tomato sauce.
Oh, yeah.
I got a lot of herbs. But, that's the other thing, planting some herbs.
Yep.
So we don't have to keep going to the store to buy them.
That's true. That's the plan.
Right now I have like store bought herbs.
Mm.
Other than the rosemary, it's the only fresh one.
We'll slowly build our stockpile.
And when the rite of Talon comes back out,
Yes,
we got the strawberry commission.
that is true.
So
That's our third one.
herb. What is it? Berry planting.
Yep.
Okay, but we only have strawberry green.
Yep.
But they're trying.
We're trying.
They're surprisingly resilient.
Mhm.
They went through all the frost, sat outside the whole time, haven't been watered, acted like they completely died. You add a little bit of water in that pot and they sprout right back up.
They blow up.
They do. They're very resilient. I've been a little bit surprised by it. Well, I guess we don't have to buy any more strawberries. Unless we just want more plants to get more strawberries.
Oh yeah, we'll figure it out.
I think when we move those 3, they're smaller right now, but I think when we move them to the planters,
Blow up.
they're gonna go.
I think you're right. Love you, Bill.
All right, I'll see you in about 30 minutes.
See you in a little bit.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so let's keep talking. King Ronald said he'll look into this type of lettuce. Thank you, King Ronald. That means a ton. Laser Kid asked, is this a micronation? It is. We are the Empire of Aeternia. We've been around for nearly a decade now here in Alabama, and we have been trying to develop a way to live off of the land that we have, the territories, the 2 that we have, Talon and Vine Farm, this one, our newest and biggest, and our capital territory of Vitae, which is in its early development, still just in the works of becoming developed from the nature that it lies on. So we are still pushing forward, and we are a micronation, and we are getting bigger and bigger. We went from nearly a nanonation now to quite the sizable micronation and continuing to push forward. So if you want to learn more about micronations or about what it means to create something your own, to define your own destiny, and to craft your own identity, the Empire of Aeternia might be for you. Let's see. King Ronald brings up, our Cuban cafe is almost complete, so now my wife and I are getting ready to prepare 2 acres of our 10 acres to primarily grow vegetables for our cafe to help reduce our food costs tremendously. That's incredible. Congratulations. I'm excited to see so much development in Arcovia as well. He says, plan on also growing mangoes, oranges, avocados, and peaches. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Especially the mangoes and avocados. Not super prominent in Mississippi, I would imagine. Also, sunflower is part of the plant that makes fruits. There are also the seeds. Oh, dang. Okay, hold on. Rictolian Stan, I'm sorry, your name is a little bit tough for me, but you're bringing up, I did research and found that planting sunflowers will be very profitable. They said also, sunflower is a plant that makes fruits that are also the seeds, and you can plant the seeds over and over again, duplication of the amount of seeds that you get each year, so you will want to save them. Fantastic. They said also each year you should save at least half of the amount of sunflower seeds you get each year to plant more, and all you need is 1 sunflower seed to make this happen after all. That makes sense. The one thing that I will warn, I have not looked as in depth into growing sunflowers as we haven't planned on growing any yet. However, I would warn, in some of my very basic research into different types of plants and sunflowers in particular, I know there are certain plants which make it harder to grow other plants in the same soil. So you can grow, for example, a large field of sunflowers, but those sunflowers may amend the soil to make it difficult to grow, say, squash or beans or potatoes or something else. Maybe not those. Those are fairly hardy. Maybe things like lettuce that are more sensitive to changes in the soil. So maybe be mindful about that as well. If you want a diversity of plants, sunflower may not be the best for you, but it seems like you're saying, I want to plant a bunch of sunflower, which sunflower, I think you're right, is great for. But you'll have to teach me more about sunflower. King Ronald says, on a side note, our grand reopening at our new 6,000 square foot is scheduled for April 28th. We would love for you guys to be there if possible. I will certainly try. However, I'll have to check the date on that. If it's during the weekend, potentially. If it's during the week, I may have a little bit of trouble with that, just with my personal schedule being quite full. But I would be excited to participate if at all possible. King Ronald says, we'll have a radio station hosting a live show on location. Since our city mayor is one of our board members, we expect to have city officials there and members from Mississippi State University. That'll be incredible. I'd be excited to see the progress. And hosting a community blood drive on the same day. Wow, okay. So not only are you putting together this large advancement of your businesses, but you're also doing it in part to benefit the community. You know, there's some parts I think that you've already expressed kind of go hand in hand with that in helping to enrich the community, but the blood drive doing something just directly for the community, something that doesn't directly benefit you profit-wise in general. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. Let's see. Michelle says hi. Great to see you, Michelle. Thank you for being here and supporting the Empire of Aeternia. We really appreciate you showing up for us. And we're trying to explain a little bit about what the Empire is up to, how we're growing, and what we plan to do for the future of this nation. Fantastic. So, that being the case, that's the primary updates for our garden, for the Garden of Nations. Again, if you were supporting the Garden of Nations last spring, This is an incredible development on what we've been able to do. This will be probably, at least 100 times or so the space that the garden took up, but it will be surely many hundreds of times the amount of food that we are able to produce. So that is quite a value for us. It will multiply the effort, and already has multiplied the effort that we have to put in by quite a few times, maybe by 5-10 times. However, this is something that will produce for us in the long term, again, allow us to reduce our food budget, and specifically our funding that is going to external entities. In developing a micronation, one of the biggest and most important parts is trying to be strategic with your resources. So we are trying to specifically grow and take care of as much as we can internally so that we can provide the wealth and the support that our efforts bring back into our society. And when we do go out and extend our resources to the wider community, our neighbors in the US state of Alabama, the thing that is so important for us as a micronation to do is to do that in a good way, to be supportive, to be friendly, to be able to help and to make a big difference with that, as we saw, for example, and heard about Arcovia doing. So as we continue to grow and make a difference there, we don't just want to be, we want to focus specifically on how much we rely on the resources of the macronation that's around us. And we want to be able to provide as much as we can for ourselves so that we can then in turn start to support and help that macronation. We want to be less reliant on others, to rely more on ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that reliance on others is bad. It's just about developing a strategy in which you are making those reliances, those needs work in your favor. So for things that we can't produce ourselves, we want to seek out friends and allies who support us that we can work with to make ends meet, to be able to cover the things that we can't do ourselves. So for example, we've been talking to Mecklenburg City-State, which is also a micronation in Alabama. We've been talking to, of course, the Kingdom of Arcovia, who have quite a lot of resources in North Mississippi. And being able to bring together groups like this, of course, the Draconian Empire, all the way in Ohio, but our current and only allies, they are all able to come together and to support what it is that we do, which is incredible. And also we are able to learn and grow from them, which makes this nation possible in a way that allows us to expand for the future. There is certainly the ability for a micronation to say, well, I want to develop my own country and I want to build all of these great things. But I think very quickly start to set high expectations and then rapidly lower them to the point that their future development and their plans are basically just in stating that they are a nation and that plans and their development. Now, that's an overgeneralization, and there's a lot to be done in that space itself. But as we have started to grow out to have more land, as we've started to grow out to have more citizens who are taking more and more of their time and their money and their lives and investing it into becoming Aeternian, into adopting the Aeternian identity, into developing themselves and their goals and their future in alignment with the era of progress and the rest of the Empire of Aeternia, we really do have to start thinking about what it means for that future to develop. And it is not as a monolith. It is not alone. We are fortunate in that we have all of these things. And the best way for us to continue to grow those things and to push forward into a prosperous and progressive future is for us to work with great micronations like the ones that I mentioned, to work with people who are in these very comments, and to be able to continue to develop in a way that makes our macro-national community, the people who are our neighbors and our friends in the state of Alabama, happy and proud of us and excited to champion us on in everything that we do. And hopefully that turns some of those people into taking on the Aeternian identity themselves. So this is a lot to work on. This is a lot to develop. And this push this spring is something on a scale that we have never done before. But that's what it takes. I want to check out, see if there are some more comments here. King Ronald says, do you plan on growing food specifically for raising your quail? That's a great question. In my research on providing feed for quail, I have had difficulty creating and planning out a proper feed for them. Now, I know there are supplements for our quail. By the way, if you all don't know, we do raise quail here. Something that was inspired by the Kingdom of Arcovia, and that is something that we have been pushing forward to over the last year, basically. So we have had ups and downs. We are still trying to grow our flock back to its strength of 5 that we had previously. And when we are planning to purchase some quail soon, we should actually expand our flock by quite a bit. But one of the biggest hurdles that we've had in raising and growing quail is the fact that we have to buy all of their supplies from the store. Of course, we supply our own water, but other than that, they are even utility in the U.S. state of Alabama. Here, when we purchase their feed, it is an industrial feed. It's something that is used for chickens, and so it's a laying feed. And so there are supplements that we purchase for it, like a seed mix that has, I think, corn and some things that we are able to put in for them that is nice. We have actually been able to grow some of those things ourselves. Now we haven't it's not rye, but there's another type of seed. It's not flax. Anyway, there's another type of seed that we have been able to grow just simply because the quail deposit it and it grows up in our yard. So we've been able to do a little bit of that, but the primary components of the feed, of the layer mix, of course, we know we need calcium, we know we need a high protein content. We have some ideas for those things, but when it comes to the rest of the vitamins and nutrients and things that they'll need, to get that down to a science where we say, we know if we combine these specific things that we grow in this specific ratio, it will make an ideal food that will not leave them with any nutrient deficiencies, is something that we have not yet found. I think it is an impossible task, but it's something that's just a little bit outside of my scope of knowledge right now, to be honest with you. And so I really want to be able to learn more about that. If you know how to make an ideal layer mix, please let us know, because it would help us to plan for the future in what we're growing and in how we provide. As well, that would make it a little bit cheaper for us to, say, provide quail eggs for people to start selling them, to start making money, to start building up that extra effort of providing a protein and a meat source for our community. So that's huge. The Empire growing into not only having a vegetable garden, not only having fruits, but actually going into, and beans and things, but actually growing into a consistent source of protein and meat and eggs is a game changer. That is the next step for us. So that is something that we absolutely are investing in now on a small scale and need those keys to unlock much larger potential. Fantastic. Our other commenter said, yes, I'm starting to plant sunflowers on June 11th, 12,026. That's incredible. Congratulations. And I wish you luck with it. They said, so not right now, but I have plans to. Why specifically that date, if you don't mind my asking? Abdul says, hi. Hello, Abdul. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. they said sunflowers aren't going to be the only thing that I will plant. So if you have any more ideas of plants that I could plant, let me know. But remember, flowering plants only, and they have to be edible too. Interesting. Flowering plants only. Most things that produce fruits, so for example, tomatoes, peppers, even like onions, things like that. Most all, and I wouldn't say all, most all non-root vegetable plants that you grow produce flowers, because that's where the fruits come from. So there are plenty of things that you could classify as flowering plants that are edible, that don't necessarily clash with that definition. It sounds like you wouldn't grow many root vegetables, but that's here and there. One thing that you could try to grow, which is a root vegetable and does flower, is the Jerusalem artichoke. They're very prolific. They grow all over the place. They're really hardy, so your climate shouldn't matter too much there. They are basically a potato substitute. They're a starch that you can grow from this flowering plant. They're pretty hardy. I would recommend looking into them. Jerusalem artichokes. King Ronald, that's something that I was going to bring up. You bring up duckweed. We do. We have a pond out here that we clean and collect duckweed from, that we've supplemented into their layer feed, which is nice and helpful. But the duckweed itself can't be their only feed source, right? It has some other nutrients in it too, but I would figure that that's not a completely balanced diet for the quail. Of course, you need things like calcium, right, for their laying. I don't think duckweed has quite enough calcium, but you could crush up eggshells, bone meal, things like that to provide additional for them. It's just, what is it that we get that we can combine together? What are all the right ingredients that we combine together to make that ideal mix for them? That's a little bit tough, and I'm not exactly sure what that is yet, because I'm not a chemist, I'm not a biologist, but I'd be very interested to learn about and to partner with others who know more to be able to do that. So that is something that we've been thinking of and working on as well. For the Jerusalem artichoke, they said I'll keep that in mind. Republic of Galucia says hi. Hello, Republic of Galucia. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us in the Empire of Aeternia by watching our stream. It means a lot. We've been talking today about our garden plants. You were talking about that you're in Florida. That's wonderful. I definitely recommend that you look into more different plants. Florida, especially being such a warm climate, there shouldn't be too many things that you have an issue growing, but definitely look into your planting zone and start from there. There should be plenty of options for you to try and grow, although the amount of care and time that it's going to take is really based on how much you grow and also the specific sensitivities of the plants. So in addition to that, the space that you have to grow. If you're growing sunflowers, those are massive plants, so you shouldn't have too big an issue with planting space if you have enough space to plant lots of sunflowers. But still, something to think about. Also, I know sunflowers in particular aren't a super care-intensive plant, right? So you can grow sunflowers and just kind of throw them out and let them do their thing. But yeah, that being the case, there is a lot of growth that we're developing right now. I want to, in future shorts and in other social media updates, show you guys actually more details of what we're doing out here. But I figured this would be great because we have our Wi-Fi in here finally. So I can set up, you guys can hang out with me, learn a little bit about our plans, and continue to move forward while I figure out how to more consistently get us out some short form content. Now, this is something that I always advertise, but I'm going to do so again because it is crucial for us. we are actively looking for people to help us with our social media. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean as somebody who gets on camera like this and makes specific videos, but somebody who can compile videos together, somebody who can edit, somebody who can help us with posting to our different social medias. We're really eager for that. Short form content is something that we really want to try and get out because we do a lot here, but we have difficulty then going from our daily efforts and making each individual thing that we do while at the same time filming it and then going back behind ourselves and editing it and scheduling it for posting and writing our captions and doing all of those things, which take a lot of extra time aside from the actual work here that we're doing in the Empire of Aeternia. So I feel like we don't get to show you guys a deep inside look at what we're doing. You guys don't get to follow us along in real time as frequently. And I feel like that hurts our connection, and I don't want that. So if there is anybody out there who is looking to make a difference in a micronation, who wants to provide their skill set in that way, that would be huge for us, and we would be very thankful for it. So if you're interested, please reach out to us at eternianempire@gmail.com or at any of the links in the description of this video, because we would be gracious to have you and excited to develop your skills and Aeternian identity. Let's see. That being the case, we have reached about an hour on the live stream, so I do want to start to go. Though I am very grateful again for everybody being here today. We have a lot more planned and a lot more to do that I need to show you out in our garden, out in the Garden Nations, out on the beautiful town and vine farm, and most importantly, with the people who are making it happen, with Right of Talon David Morris, and with High Envoy Fred Gilman. We have a lot planned, not only with this garden, with this territory, but also in our local North Alabama community. This is a year where we have learned a lot, where we have gotten the opportunity, fortunately, to meet a lot of people and talk to them and be able to share a connection. We've been working, as some of you may have seen from one of our previous TikTok live streams, with Alabama Progress, a local political activist group, here to raise awareness about common issues faced here and be able to participate in some of their events, like a TikTok live stream about Alabama power and the jumping of power bill rates and things like that. We've also been able to work with local clubs, like we were trying to do previously with our live stream that you may have seen had terrible quality and only lasted a few minutes, but we actually did a gardening live stream at the end of March, trying to promote gardening, trying to get new gardeners aware of how to start a garden, what they need to start a garden, what their planting zone is, how to seek help and resources, and what we're doing to be able to help guide them along that journey. Unfortunately, though the actual event in person was great, and it was one of the first times we've had the opportunity to host an event like that in person and to teach people as the Empire of Aeternia and get a connection with them. The live stream itself had terrible quality. I didn't realize I needed to set up on the Wi-Fi in the building, and so I tried to use my phone Wi-Fi, and it was terrible. But that is a lesson learned for next time. We should be able to provide a higher quality experience then. So for anybody who watched that live stream or was trying to attend that live stream and had difficulty or didn't do it, my apologies, and we will be back better than ever next time, ready to take on the world and to provide some help along the way. That being the case, I think we're going to wind this one down. Thank you all so much for being here. We have more updates to come on the spring plans for the Empire of Aeternia and how we are taking those plans and putting them into action. Again, I hope we are able to connect more with the wonderful micronations in our community that have blessed us with their knowledge and their support. In particular, those like the Draconian Empire, Mecklenburg City-State, and the Kingdom of Arcovia, all of which can be found in our Discord server as well. So I recommend you join our Discord server, get in touch with them, communicate, collaborate, and help us grow the micronational sphere of influence. And until next time, Aeternia forever! See you all.